Hello and welcome everybody, I'm Barbarian, this is Crusader Kings 2 and it is the last episode of the playthrough of, everything Orientalist. The Arabian Nights playthrough ends right here, and this is a time-lapse that I was very hopeful for, because usually I leave my empires in any playthrough that I do, either far too strong or far too weak. There's always this pivot point in Crusader Kings 2 where you as a player would be unbeatable, but if you leave it to the AI will ruin everything. Now, in this particular time-lapse, I was very happy with what I was seeing in the early years. You can see that, as the game is running along, you can see that Al-Hajira is actually standing tall. It's actually, maintaining its powerful control. We built the Emerald Pyramid, we built up the Center of Islam, and everything looked pretty decent right up to the point where the time-lapse is practically impossible. And you will say, hey, what do you mean the time-lapse is impossible? I can tell that there is currently literally a time-lapse going on, and I will tell you, remember, back, a couple of episodes back, I was like, why is the game chugging like this? And it turns out, when I started this playthrough, and just for the record, this is not a blemish on the mod at all, there will always be bugs, that's just the way it is. But when I started this playthrough, that was the release day of 1.0, at least I think it was the day of the release itself. And there used to be a bug in this version of After the End Fanfork that caused the spawn in of colonial courtiers to the maximum. Now what that means is that something happens to the colonial governments of the Russians or the Japanese, in this case the Japanese. I assume at least it has to do with the colonial government disappearing and them just becoming a merchant republic, but let's get to that once we're there. And what that does is that essentially an infinite amount, at least seemingly infinite amount, not literally of course, of courtiers spawn in and slow your game down until there is no tomorrow. I have no idea how to stop it. I could probably ask the developers, but let's be real, that's not worth bothering them with. I tried to install the new version, but of course, because the save game is the way it is, that didn't do anything at all. I assume I can't really fix it. Now the sad thing about that is that we left Al-Hajira in a position where they aren't too powerful, but they aren't, less powerful, or not powerful enough to actually withstand the pressure by, for example, the Holy Columban Confederacy. Because I would have loved to see how this long-term would have developed. But instead, that is not possible. Instead, we're looking at a time-lapse that, I think like 20 or 25 years into the time-lapse starts chugging to an insane degree. Like legitimately chugging to a point where my computer wants to kill itself. So I had to kind of abandon it there. I still think the time-lapse as we see it here is fairly interesting. We have a very interesting situation going on with Al-Hajira and the Holy Columban Confederacy, as well as Hatsonia, kind of eyeing each other there, although the Holy Columban Confederacy is making most of the moves. I will also say that I have indeed, and this patch really just confirmed that I have a very intense love relationship with this mod. I really love After the End Fanfork. It is an incredibly well-crafted mod, and it has one huge benefit to me personally, at the very least, when it comes to judging this mod in comparison to mods that are working in already existing universes, for example, Elder Scrolls, Game of Thrones, The Witcher, and so on and so forth. And that is that all of this is original. Now, of course, much of it is, taken, the inspiration is taken from other possible post-apocalyptic scenarios, some memes here and there, like the Minnesota Vikings. Then you have, I think, some Stalker stuff in there, so like the game Stalker, the game series, that sort of stuff. But all in all, this is an entirely original mod. Everything in its entire composition is unique and it is original, and I'm really in love with it. I'm also in love with what they did with the Orientalists, with the Imamites, with the Traditionalists, with the Revivalists, with the Mithrists. It is a very, very cool design, and I want to say thank you to all the modders working on this. It is actually absolutely worth it to see, this mod progress through times. I really want to say this is, in my eyes, and I did a top 5 mods, total overhaul, total conversion mods for CK2. This mod definitely deserves its place right where it is. What an absolute piece of quality. I love it, even though, of course, the bug kind of dunked hard on me here. But listen, sometimes you gotta get dunked on. I'm gonna show you off in about 1 minute. I'm gonna show off the issue that is caused, and you can see it here. The mod is already slowing down to a crawl. This is, I think, 4 times speed, and yet it is running at like a month per like 20 seconds. It's outrageous, of course. But again, my CPU actually wants to kill itself whenever I were to run the game. Now, I will show you in a second what exactly it means to have this the way it is, but I think we should just enjoy this map a bit. We have, of course, Jefferson fairly strong. They united those kingdoms. Cascadia actually split again. The Holy Columban Confederacy almost in the territory of having a true claim to all of America. I love that the Maritimes and Nunavik also exist, and Al-Hejira, of course, still as strong can be. Now, you know, we are sitting on the 20th February of 2784, and I'm going to tell you, we're just going to go and jump straight into the actual game so that I can show you the bug that caused this time lapse to end right here. Good God, we've been on the 20th for a million years now. I'll see you in a second. Alright, so here we are. You can see that I kind of, you know, pushed the game a bit further than in the recording in the timelapse that you just saw. We are on the 25th of September. If I were to unpause the game now, my CPU would max out because the game is absolutely going insane. And that is because of this stuff over here. So you have Chiji Enix came on the Tormentor of Akaizai. And he changed, I think this is the reason, I'm not entirely certain that it is, but he changed to the Merchant Republic instead of having the colonial government, making this happen. If I were to click this, it would take a while because it would have to load in 2,000 characters. Now, that being said, let me actually check something. What I haven't checked before, no, the Russians do not suffer from the same situation, which I assume is the case because they are still under the colonial government, but neither do the Russians that are no longer the colonial government. They are just still the Merchant Republic. I think it happens whenever you don't have a corresponding colonial government, but only a Merchant Republic. So, like, for example, if this Russia were to disappear, I think that this Russia would also spurg out. Either way, I hope that you enjoyed this playthrough. I hope that you have a lot of fun with this mod yourself. I would highly encourage playing this mod. It's an absolutely beautiful mod, as I said earlier. And I want to thank the members of the channel that made this playthrough possible, namely the Barons Aaron, Stefan, the Richest T, Snywolf, Emma, Marmello, Thomas, and of course Lachlan. Then also the Counts Kiermelik 2, Shifty, Ixum the Naughty, and Wombat, and last but not least, of course, the beautiful Dukes, Suspicious Duck, Benedict, Nathan, Knight of Squires, Kenneth, Lexo, Roboman, My Dad Left Me at Arby's, and Eric and Aiden. Thank you so much for supporting the channel, and keep in mind, if you haven't played this mod, you're missing out. I will see you guys later. Alligator.